Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be crocheting a sweater. So I'll be using a chunky 4-ply 100% acrylic yarn because it's thick. Plus I hear it's best to go with 100% acrylic yarn. I'll also be using a 4mm crochet needle. Now we're going to start by making a slip knot. So grab your yarn and unravel it. Once you're done unraveling it, hold it like so. Then hook your index finger through it, then turn it upwards, place your thumb through it, grab the tail end of the yarn and pull through to form a loop. This loop is our slip knot. Now, take your crochet needle and place it through the loop and tighten the loop around it, but make sure that it's not too tight, otherwise you'll have trouble crocheting. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm making a chain stitch. So to do so, I want you to hold the top part of the needle, which is the hook, facing away from you. Then place it over and under the yarn, then slowly turn the hook towards you and pull downwards through the loop to form a stitch. When the hook goes over and under the yarn and through the loop, that's a process called yarning over. I'll show you again. Place the hook facing away from you, place it over and under the yarn, then slowly turn it towards you so that the yarn is secured around the hook, then pull downwards through the loop to form a stitch. So we're making a chain stitch like I said before. So I'll be making 6 stitches with an extra 7 stitch, which will work as my turning stitch. Always remember to have a turning stitch to keep the edges of your ribbon section straight. Once I've made my 6 stitches with an additional turning stitch, I'll skip my turning stitch and work with the second stitch in the chain. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm counting 1 and 2, and I'll place the needle through the second stitch, then yarn over and pull downwards through the loop. Notice you have 2 loops on your needle. Yarn over again and pull the yarn through those 2 loops. Let's look at that again. Put the needle through the next stitch, yarn over and pull downwards through the stitch. Notice the 2 loops again. So you're going to yarn over and pull the yarn through the 2 loops like before. So what we're doing here is we're making a single crochet. Keep crocheting until you're done with your first row of single crochet, and once you're done with that row, be sure that you make your turning stitch. Again, the turning stitch makes sure that the edges of your ribbon section are straight. Then turn it around and then work your needle through the second stitch, skipping the turning stitch. Yarn over and pull through it. Notice that you have 2 loops again. So yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops to continue with your single crochet. Continue single crocheting until you reach the end and then turn it around just like we did the first time. Then make another row of single crochet, and so on and so on and so on. The length of your ribbon section depends on how wide you want your sweater to be. So you want to have that determined as you make your ribbon section. This is what I mean when I say a ribbon section. It should look something like the picture shown at the top right hand corner of the screen. Now, do not cut off the yarn once you're done making the ribbon section. Not cutting it off will make it easy to continue stitching on top of the ribbon section. Just leave the crochet needle in the loop once you're done crocheting, but do not cut it off. Now it's time to make a treble crochet. So start off from where you'd left off. Start by making 3 chain stitches. Then wrap the crochet needle around the yarn twice, then put the needle through the stitch right through the top of your ribbon section. Pull through and yarn over. Notice you have 4 loops now, so wrap the needle around the yarn again and pull through the first loop. Then yarn over again, and this time pull through 2 loops. Yarn over again and then pull through the 2 more loops, and then finally yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. And that is your first treble crochet. Once you're done, wrap the needle around the yarn twice again, then put the needle through a loop at the bottom of the ribbon section like we did before. You'll notice you have 4 loops on your needle again. Now wrap the yarn around the needle, then pull through the first loop. Then yarn over again and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over again, then pull through 2 more loops. Then yarn over again for the last time and pull through the remaining 2 loops. Now you have another treble crochet. So you want to keep doing that. You want to keep repeating the process as you work your way along the ribbon section. And once you reach the end, remember to start off your next row of treble crochet with 3 chain stitches, and then you can start the process of making your treble crochet again. Once you're done, it should look something like this. Remember when I mentioned that the length of your ribbon section will determine the length of your sweater? Well, this is what I meant. Now the pattern of the treble crochet is displayed on the screen. So my type of sweater will be an open cardigan type of sweater. I'll measure the top first, which measures 20.5 inches, meaning half of it measures 10.25 inches. Now I'll start making a chain stitch that measures 26 inches long instead of just 20.5 inches. The extra length will come in handy when it's time to make our treble crochet, plus in case it turns out that I'll need more length later while I'm crocheting. Once you're done making the chain stitch, count 3 stitches, and the 4th stitch is the one that we're going to be stitching into. But before you do so, remember to wrap the yarn around the needle twice, then place it through the 4th stitch. And then hook the yarn around it, yarn over that is, and then pull through the stitch, and notice you'll have 4 loops, just like before when we were making our first treble crochet. Then but unlike before when we were pulling the needle through the first loop only, this time pull the needle through the 2 loops first, and then notice after you do that you'll yarn over again, pull through the 2 next loops, yarn over again, and then pull through the remaining 2 loops. This is how to correctly make a treble crochet. Now I want you to continue doing that and working your way along the chain stitch. And once you reach the end of the chain stitch, I want you to make 3 chain stitches so that you can start making your next row of treble crochet. Once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Again, the pattern of the treble crochet is displayed on the screen. This piece measures about 25 inches by 7 inches, and I made two smaller pieces that measure 10.25 inches by 7 inches, which will come in handy later. We'll be stitching the longer piece onto the bottom half of the sweater. So grab your needle, put your yarn through it, and we're going to work our way downwards. Now, before we start, I wanted to show you that I'll be stitching through the inner loop of the braid or stitch. I'm doing this so that I can have a nice pretty effect on the outside of the sweater. Notice the line along the back part of the sweater? That's the effect I was talking about. So once you're done sewing that onto the sweater, now it's time to make another ribbon section of our sweater sleeve. Here I'm making a slip knot like we did at the beginning of the video. Then I'll start making my chain stitch that's not too wide. Notice I'll be comparing it to the ribbon section of the sleeve sweater that I already made. Once I've gotten the right width, I'll start making my single crochet. In case you forgot how to make a single crochet, you can rewind to the beginning part of the video and watch again, then skip back to this part of the video. The part that you're looking for, the time that you're looking for is indicated at the top right hand corner of the screen. My ribbon section measures 10 inches long. Now it's time to sew the ends together. Grab your needle, put your yarn through it, and then start sewing. Once you're done, make a slip knot with another thread of yarn, put your needle through a stitch at the topmost part of the ribbon section, and secure the slip knot around the hook. Before you start crocheting it, you secure it on the inside, then start making your treble crochet. The securing it is very important because it will make sure that it doesn't move, and it will make it easy for you to make your treble crochet. Remember that to start making your treble crochet, you always start by making a chain of 3 stitches. Then wrap your yarn around the needle twice and put it through a stitch. Then yarn over and pull through the stitch to notice that you have 4 loops. Now, remember how I told you that you pull for the first time you remember how I told you that you pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the second 2 loops, yarn over, and then finally pull through the remaining 2 loops. So you want to do that. You want to keep doing that to maintain uniformity. Okay, so now we are making our bell sleeve. But I want to start by showing you what to do when it's time to go to your next row and you need to stitch the gap in between the row that you've already made. So what you do is you put the needle through the top part of the neighboring treble crochet, yarn over and pull through the stitch. Then yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops, and voila! You've secured it. Now, how did I get my bottom part of my sleeve to look like this? My very first row, when I first started making my sleeve, I did not skip a stitch or do a double crochet on a single stitch. But when I got to my second row of treble crochet, I would make 2 treble crochet stitches through 1 loop, then make 1 treble crochet stitch through the next loop, and then make 2 treble crochets on the next loop again, and then I'd make 1 treble crochet on the following loop. This is what I mean. So I'm making a single treble crochet, and I'm going to just sew that through 1 loop or 1 stitch, and then the next loop I'll make sure I sew 2 treble crochets through it. So I did this 2 treble crochets, then 1 treble crochet system on 2 rows only. Then on the following row, I just did 1 treble crochet through each loop. When I get to my next row after this, I'll make 1 treble crochet through only 1 loop, then skip the next loop, then make a treble crochet, and then skip the next loop again. This is to just make sure that now the puff is getting smaller. Before I get to my next row, I'll measure to check the width. I want my width to match the 2 pieces that I made for my front section of the sweater. That is 7 inches. If the width does match, I'll stop skipping any loops on this row or any other row and stick to that. So keep crocheting until you're done. Secure the ends and snip off the remaining yarn. You want to make 2 sleeves. Now, after you're done making your 2 sleeves, now it's time to sew the sleeves onto the sweater. Once you're done, it's time to bring out those 2 small pieces that I'd shown you before, the ones that measure 10.25 inches by 7 inches. We'll be sewing those onto the front part of the sweater. I'll be working my way upwards as I sew, making sure to leave an allowance at the top. This allowance will come in handy later, so you want to remember that. Once you're done, it's time to sew the remaining part of the piece to the inner sleeve of the sweater. Always plan how you'll sew it on before you do so to avoid making any mistakes. Remember the allowance I'd mentioned earlier? This is where it comes in handy. Since the sleeve of the sweater is rounded, the extra material will help you sew around it. Be sure to do the same on the other side. Now, it's time to sew the top part of the sweater. I won't be sewing the whole way along it, so instead, I'll measure up until where I want to sew, mark it with a tailoring chalk to help keep me in check. Once you're done with that side, do the same to the other side. I made another ribbon section for the bottom part of the sweater because I wasn't really happy with the length of the sweater. Notice my ribbon section this time is wider. I'll sew it on first before we can continue. When you're done, it should look something like this. I made 2 more ribbon sections which I'll sew onto the sides of the sweater. But first, notice my sweater didn't really turn out straight. So I'll pin the sides so that it's straight before I can finally sew the ribbon sections to the sides. Time to sew the ribbon sections on. I'm not pushing the needle all the way through because that will make it really hard to sew. Instead, I'm just sewing along a braid on each side, and that way I'm working so much faster and it's so much easier. I won't be sewing all the way to the top. I'll stop right there and fold the top part of the sweater over into a triangle as indicated above. Then sew the ribbon section along it, then along the top of the sweater to the other side. It should end up looking something like this. Now, we're not completely done. There's some strings that are hanging off the sweater and they're really not sightly, so we want to get rid of them. So just cut them off, and before you cut them off, just make sure that the ends are tightly secured. So I don't think the sweater turned out perfect, in terms of size, measurements, but this was my first time ever crocheting a sweater, so hopefully my second one, if I ever do decide to make a second one, it will turn out better. My favorite part of the sweater are definitely the puffed sleeves. I just love them so much. And yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a comment. Either way, I'll be happy. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in my next video.